The first item is those who wish can stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and those who wish to do silent meditation can remain seated and do that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so first item of the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 2025
I
meeting.
think we might not be able to because of the people absent, the people who are here today. We might have to.
Do we not have a quorum of members who attended?
Nope.
No, I have to abstain.
Joe, Matt, and Tony were out. So I think we're gonna have to wait till next time.
I don't for it.
Saves you a step. So next.
All right, so that moves us into public input session. Do we have anything from the record that's been?
I do. I have three. Thank you to the wonderfully patient IT person who connected my iPad with Libby. That was just came in today. So great news for IT. This came in after Reader Treat. The Halloween event last Saturday was spectacular. Many thanks. My grandchildren had a blast. You were over the top successful. And that comes from Amelia Goody. So thank you, Amelia. And this is regarding the traffic barrier that's been put back up, the cones, October 29th. Thank you for putting back up the barrier wall. This should help a good deal to avoid people cutting the corners short and endangering others. We hope so.
Good. Do we have any public input present at the meeting? All right, thank you for that. All right, the first item then on the agenda is after that is personnel action, and that is to accept the resignation of Sam Christensen Trippy as librarian 1 on 10/31/2025. We have a motion to accept. Do we have a second?
Joe got it.
Any discussion, any discussion on the matter? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, no abstentions. So I guess at 6:05, we have acceptance of that personnel action. That brings us to the treasurer's report, and George is also out sick today, so we're gonna give the salient points of that.
I would be happy to. I'm not as entertaining as George, but I will give it the old college try. So in your packet, starting with the statement of net position, I'm going to start with assets and deferred outflows of resources. And I do have George's notes, so these are not entirely from me. Line 1, cash and cash equivalents. You'll notice that internal 10/31/2025 looks really high. That's because we received our tax levy. The tax levy check was cut to us on 10/30. So it was at the time that the month ended, it was in the normal bank account. It has since been moved into the IntraFi account where it can begin earning interest. George wanted us to highlight that the tax levy was $4,263,425 received of a total tax levy of $4,483,561. So we received 95.1% of the levy. If you compare that to last year, we received 94% of the levy in October, so on pace with where we were last year. 2 years ago in October, we only received 68.1% of the levy with a payment in December of 27.9%, and then 4% was left over for the rest of the year. This tracks with what the school district told me. I spoke to their business manager. He said they had really good returns on their tax payments this year, so we're in a good place. George wanted us to highlight that. Nothing really noteworthy on the rest of the assets and deferred payment, so I'm gonna flip the page over to the operating revenue. You'll notice line 5, grants. We received $1,500 in grants this month. That was part of Upper Hudson's Equity Challenge. There's a monetary reward for the library doing work that increases equity in our collection, in our services. Equity meaning really reaching out to people with different outcomes, maybe making information more accessible, making the library more accessible to the community. So that was the grant payment we received there. Line 8, salaries and wages, we remain favorable. Last month in September was really the first time this fiscal year that we consider ourselves fully staffed. So that was how favorable we were in September was, where we generally are. We're a little bit more favorable this month. We're $14,000 favorable. For the year, we're $69,828 favorable. So George just wanted us to highlight that we're in a good place. Line 16, technology, we are a little bit unfavorable for the month, $4,000 over budget. That's primarily around some large RFID payments that were made, RFID being our self-check terminals and the sorting machine for returns. Those are large annual payments that we make. We did make a payment this month for services that we'll receive beginning in January. So those will go under prepaid expenses and then they'll even out over the course of the next calendar year. Staff development, line 22, we are unfavorable to the tune of $7,387. The majority of that is the administrative retreat that I mentioned in last month's report. So an expected large one-time payment that'll even out over the course of the year. And then line 30, George made a note for our interest and investment income. The way he calculates our interest, he calculated October as if the full tax levy would have been accruing interest over the course of the month. Because we didn't get the tax levy until 10/30, he has us noted down as unfavorable. If he adjusts his expectations, then we would have been favorable. Year to date, we're favorable, and he expects it to continue that way. Are there any questions about the statement of net position? Okay. Moving on to the cash and cash equivalents and short-term investment. We actually have some late breaking news. At the Finance Committee last night, we were discussing some of our investments should have been maturing, and one of them did in fact mature. Our first laddered investment of $250,000 matured on November 14th. We actually got a call this morning from our investment professional to let us know, hey, it matured, what would you like me to do? On his recommendation, Colleen and I consulted about it, and we have moved that $250,000 CD into a 12-month CD with an interest rate of 3.75. Interest rates are beginning to come back down. As we talked about back in August when we made our investments, we tried to ladder them in such a way to take advantage of the interest rates still being over 4%. They're now going down below 4%, so we wanted to hold at as good a rate as we could get, which at the moment was 3.75. So that one will now mature next year, and it'll keep us on this rhythm of every 3 months or so, one of our CDs, one of our investments will mature. Otherwise, there's nothing terribly remarkable. You will notice again under undeposited funds that there's the tax levy payment listed there. But again, it's because it's from the end of the month, and since then it has become invested. Any questions about cash and cash equivalents?
No. Question, let's move on to check register.
Sure. So pretty standard month. A couple of items that I'm just going to highlight because they may be slightly unusual or eye-catching. About halfway down the page, around 1021, you'll see a $3,000 check for New Tech Business Products listed under staff development. That is for staff clothing. Some of that is going to be reimbursed. The library paid a percentage of clothing items for staff, but if anyone wanted to buy something extra, they have to pay for that out of pocket. So that was the initial outlay, but some of that will be coming back to us. Slightly below that on 1024, there's the Mahoney Performance Institute check for $5,355. That's the administrative retreat that I mentioned. On 1030, I'm just highlighting that Gervin and Ferlazzo, our attorney fees were at retainer for $1,666.67, which is good. It means that we didn't do any services that are outside of retainer, so no unexpected costs there. Flipping over on the backside of my page, but on the next page, about halfway down, Colony Mechanical Contractors, $3,644. That was for maintenance to our boiler and to our rooftop units. Our facilities manager has actually pursued a service agreement with Colony Mechanical that will help us kind of flatten these costs, so it will be a more predictable cost. But that was, I believe his remark was he's not sure when the last time we got those units maintained, so I'm glad we did it. It's a necessary expense. And then slightly, the next line below that, Guilderland Chamber of Commerce, $783. That is for our full page ad in the Chamber's directory, which we do every year. And Caroline, who joins me at the table today in Amy's place, did an amazing job with our ad this year. We got compliments from the Chamber of how nice it was. So looking forward to seeing that in print. Any questions about the check register?
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
The statement of revenue expenses changing that position actual this month shows no expenditure in marketing. It's just like a typo somewhere where that's 783, what budget that came under?
That would be a George question that I don't know the answer to.
Thanks.
Sure.
The payroll wire fees are?
Yes, so
What's new?
it's, I think it's new in us breaking it out, but we are charged a $25 wire fee to transfer money from our bank to our payroll servicer. It's been that way since we switched to Paycom, but I think this might be one of the first times we've broken it out.
Yeah, I broke it out to include it as one of the disbursements. It's been that way.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments on the check register? Got the check register? We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. 614. Hey, Pete. Put on your other hat.
Quick transition to the director's report. So a couple of late breaking things that did not make it into the director's report. I brought a show and tell item with me. This is Share the Fair. This is a service with a program currently being done by Farnsworth Middle School. I'm sure many of us have attended a Scholastic Book Fair in our time. I know I used to love going to the Scholastic Fair when I was a kid. And money was tight in my household, but my mom always made sure that I had a little bit of something to spend at the fair. Not everyone is so fortunate, and I know it can be very ostracizing for everyone's going to the fair and some kids can't buy a thing. The Guilderland Library Foundation, who Alicia and I attended their meeting last week, alerted us to the Share the Fair program, which is the school collects donations and then turns that into a voucher so that kids who don't have any money to spend at the fair can still walk away with a book or an item. A lot of places are putting these boxes up in their lobbies. I'm not entirely comfortable putting this up in the library's lobby. We are open to the public and it is a very small and slight box that can walk away. So I've brought it to the board in case any of you would like to make a donation. I would also, I'm not sure if it's a motion or a suggestion, but I would like to propose that perhaps we take some of our proceeds generated from the standing book sale in the lobby and we dedicate them towards supporting Share the Fair, not just for Farnsworth, but for other schools in our community. So I bring it today as in case anyone is feeling generous, but also as a proposal to perhaps donate something further. Alicia, I'm going to throw it to you real quick. You were also at that meeting. Do you
I
have
was.
thoughts?
No, I liked the idea of having, because we have that box that's already set up for the, pay on the honor system, right? But I think if we advertise that that's what we're doing, we might get even extra and it's there and it's a little more secure than that. So I don't know if we can for lack of a better word, skin this and put it around the box or something so that, people are aware of what we're doing and maybe advertise that. Cause I think that It is, I think, it's a huge deal for kids to go to the Scholastic Book Fair. I was also very fortunate and always had money to go, but I know the kids that couldn't get stuff were always like gutted. So I think giving that opportunity to kids and doing it in a not so obvious way is something that is a huge win for the community and in alignment with what we do, I think. So, yeah.
Pete, are you suggesting that we put, how much from the book sales would you suggest we put into the box to contribute to that?
I'd like to propose maybe $100. I'm, that would be less than we typically get in a month or, in a rotation of the book sale, but I think that's a nice, generous offer.
Is that something that you as a manager are authorized to spend or?
I would think that because it involves our finances, I would feel great if it was a board-approved action.
Okay, do we have a motion to,
Is this for the current one that's going on right now? Because I know there's a book fair this week at Farnsworth.
It is, so we got it at the beginning of this week, so the book sale started on Monday and it's wrapping up on Friday. However, I'm positive that they would hold our donation for a future book sale.
Or do we front load it and just give them the 100 and then we raise the 100 back?
Also doable.
Okay. If it's done Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Like if we
that's
get that
tomorrow,
done.
like, are they gonna be getting people
Right.
vouchers by tomorrow for this book sale? It doesn't seem likely.
So they typically, they've been giving vouchers this whole time, so
Right.
they might be front loading their vouchers in anticipation of donations.
And what about the other schools?
I'd like to actually reach out to the other schools and say that this is something that we're offering. I'm sure many of them would take us up on that. Farnsworth was just the first one. Luck of the draw that they were doing it when it was brought to our attention.
is this a one-time per year thing or do they?
They have it twice a year. So I was almost about to say like, what if we just bookmark a certain percentage ongoing? So that when the next one rolls around, we just have the bank to be like, here's this. And then it's just always like, instead of constantly trying to track like what month things are happening at, if they reach out to us and we let them know this is something we're doing, then the schools can like pull from the bank of whatever we earmark for that.
That would actually be cleaner because we could just
Right.
earmark a percentage of our
Yep.
revenue for that month rather than pinning it to
Yeah.
a specific dollar amount.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
I might suggest just like, if we want to do something right now, that maybe we just vote on a dollar amount for now and then try and get a little more information about like, if there's going to be multiple book sales, there's, 5 different elementary schools. I don't know how many book sales in each of those. Farnsworth has a couple, like what makes sense or, if we can at least have a little more information before we decide on it at an ongoing basis. I don't know.
And I will be attending a very highfalutinly titled librarian summit with the school librarians on December 2nd, so I can get more information then.
So in terms of like, if we were to agree with what Mike said, to put something in, this is being tomorrow's the last day. And you're thinking that they're front loading these vouchers in anticipation of collecting. So what we do put in this time will probably be used this time for this one. And then from there, we can come up with, we could also vote tonight to come up with a way of dedicating some of the, the book sale revenue into this on an ongoing basis. We could do both of those tonight if that's what we want to do. Is there any
So
reason why we wouldn't?
each school is gonna have 2 a year, right? So we figure it's 5 elementary schools, a middle school and a high school. Does a high school be scholastic book fair? I don't think so. So 6 schools is 12. And then based on how much money you think we make overall, we can figure out that percentage. If we want to say each school, we want to give X amount of money to, blah, blah, blah. I don't know who can do the quick and dirty math. That's not my strong suit.
Sure.
But that's how I would think of it, right? There's 12. How much money do we want to give each?
Yeah, I just,
Sale.
I don't know, because we also might want to, the elementary schools obviously are smaller than, well, they have more grades, but they have,
Right.
there's 5 of them instead of just the one middle school. So there's, the number of students is very different. And but I don't know if there's like more you know, because it's the elementary school and like, I think you might have a higher participation of kids getting books. So there's more kind of a demand to, you know, get vouchers to the kids who can't, you know, don't have money for it at the elementary. I don't know, you know, so I feel like we're gonna decide how to split this money up or where it's gonna go. Maybe we get a little more information first, just so we can decide how to best allocate it. If it makes sense, given the numbers. I don't know.
I think, the allocation of it is the complicated part. I think the easy part is that we get so much money and that we're gonna give half of it to, whatever allocation mechanism we come up with. So people are more comfortable with deferring that decision until we can maybe put our head into what that would involve, how we would do it. We can do that as well.
Is it sufficient to say that, we allocate Pete once a month up to $100 from the book revenue to donate that to any of the schools' book-related activities? And just like make that a standing $100 a month that you have to play with for meeting
So
those
that's
needs. that
enough
come
to
to you?
fill the schools up. That's like a low amount, probably. We probably might want to just figure out like the need first and then,
I think.
I mean, we have Mike on the foundation. We'll just ask him. He's like one of the
Yeah.
principals at Farnsworth, so he could probably give us a good idea. This is kind of where that came from, so.
Because if we could just get like some rough numbers on how many, like what's the demand for these vouchers at
Right.
the elementary schools, at the middle school, just so we have a kind of an idea of what we're looking at. And then also if you could kind of like give us an idea of, you know, over the last X number of months, how much have we been taking in the book sales, just so we, you know what we're working with, and then we can try and figure that out.
Couldn't we also really publicize it in a poster form or something, you know,
Yeah.
over our box? And explain what, if you wanna pay a little extra, you know, we're getting a certain percentage to the kids that can't afford to get books at the book fair.
Yeah, I think if we want to use our megaphone on this and promote it, it would do
Absolutely.
gangbusters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we can definitely come back with more information. It's relatively easy for Colleen and I to come up with those numbers, and we'll touch base with the schools.
I'd almost
So-
say, I'm sure they have a statistic on how many kids at one point qualified for, subsidized lunch or something like that. And you could just use that percentage to say like, those might be the same bucket of kids that might.
They also know how many vouchers they're giving out too, so.
Yeah, if they're tracking the vouchers. I don't know if every school's doing vouchers.
Yeah.
I think it's just Farnsworth maybe, but that's where I would maybe start and just say like roughly if it's 20% of the students, right? You can figure that out, how many kids that might be, and then the caseworkers at the school who work with like caring closet and stuff might know,
Some of the schools have their own donations also. Like I think
Oh, okay.
Gilderland had, you could donate too for their specific schools too. So
Okay,
they might have, like the PTAs might have information on how much they've collected, how much they've used.
that's fair. All right, so there's some homework.
So do you have a recommendation on what you want us to donate as a library for this current sale that you would notify them tomorrow was available to fund their vouchers?
I wouldn't go over 100. So anything below that, I think would be great.
Anybody else have a different view of an amount? Everybody's okay with 100? So all in favor of donating, the library being directed to donate $100 to the voucher program for the book sale at Farnsworth Schools, say aye.
Is that, are we making that
I'll
a,
make the motion.
Oh,
is that a final motion?
You make a motion.
Make a motion.
Okay.
Lisa seconded it, I think.
Sure, I'll second it. Yep,
Second,
good with that.
who seconded that?
Alicia.
Me.
Barbara and Alicia.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Very good.
Awesome, thank you. Other late-breaking news doesn't require nearly as much conversation. In the back of your packet, I added 2 additional items that I couldn't figure out how to fit in my report due to formatting. Because they're both 4-page long. One is the calendar of events specifically for our youth programming. I offer this, it's in the back of your folder. Sorry.
Oh, thank you.
I mostly offer this to show that we're doing, in October, we did at least one program almost every day of the month. So it's just a tremendous amount of help from our team. And so broad diversity of of programming rather, from our family story time all the way up to our tacos, which are our teen volunteers, So yeah, just wanted to share this. We'll probably share this monthly, just so you have a sense of the types of programs we're doing for kids in any given month. The other item that I included is a sampling of questions that came in through MooBot, our friendly chat assistant on the website. Sean Silvernail, our IT manager, has mentioned this in a couple of his reports. So he wanted to give kind of a scope of the types of questions we're getting and then the types of answers that MooBot is giving. MooBot is scraping our website to get responses to these questions. So I've seen questions asked that have nothing to do with the library where MooBot just kind of defers and says, I don't know that, that's not a library question. But it's the types of questions we're getting that MooBot can answer are pretty good and the answers are pretty high quality. So I'm pleased with that. And Sean is really championing MooBot as an IT or as an AI assistant, but it's a chatbot. Websites have had them for a while. Ours is just cow themed. So those are the other late additions. Aside from that, the things in my report that I wanted to highlight, early voting has come and gone. A huge kudos to our staff. Hosting early voting is incredibly important to me. I think it's important for us to support our democracy and to host the Board of Elections. There is a little bit of a staff lift. The maintenance team has come in early and open on the weekends. Jason Simonton, who fortunately is a morning person, came in at 5 a.m. on election day. Better him than me. I drew the long straw, so I stayed until 9 o'clock to close. Suited both of us just fine. So we're happy with that relationship, and we're happy with how voting went. And then on the other end of the timeline, November 14th, so outside the month of October, but I did want to highlight it. The library hosted United Way and Albany County. The Albany County Department of Social Services was giving grocery cards to SNAP recipients who their food benefits have been disrupted by the federal shutdown. It was a really humbling event for a lot of the staff members who worked to see such need in our community and see folks waiting hours to get a $50 gift card or a $100 gift card. The staff really did a lot of work in terms of logistics. United Way and Albany County worked with several libraries to host these events. You may have heard, Albany Public Library was pretty much overwhelmed by their event. They had over 1,000 people waiting for grocery cards at their event. We did not have the same scale. We had about 200 people. We got them through before 2 o'clock, so everything ran on schedule. But a huge kudos to the entire team, especially Christina Ronald, our head of adult services. I handed this project to her with minimal explanation, and she really took ownership of it and made it happen. So that was great. Natalie Hurto, Allison Jadav, and Caroline Bolabau handled the day-to-day logistics of the event. And then Amy, who's not here tonight, was really the face of our library during this event. And she did an amazing job keeping everyone comfortable. We gave additional snacks and food for people who were waiting, and we made the wait as comfortable and enjoyable as we could. So I'm extraordinarily proud of the team. I'm proud that our library could host that. I thought that, it wasn't happening for a good reason, but I'm glad that we were here for the community. And then the last thing I'll mention is one of our more unique events that we do is our speed friending events. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's like speed dating, but for making friends. We hosted a speed friending event recently, and there was one table that really hit it off, and they were having such a great time that we heard them saying, like, we're heading to a coffee shop after this. Like, our night's not over. So that's what we're here for. I mean, the library's not open 24 hours a day, so we're hoping to build connections that people then carry with them into the community. So awesome event, something really unique and special that we do, and it's working. The proof is in the pudding. So we are honored to build a community here. And that was it from my report.
You go ahead, Bob.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
One of the questions that was asked was, do we have a laminator? I think those are super expensive. If I'm not mistaken, would it be possible to look into it?
Yes, it would be less, I wouldn't be so worried about the cost. I'd be worried about finding a spot for it. But yes, it is something you could look into having.
You got a question behind here.
May I answer the question about the marketing? Jordan's statements run for the previous month, but the check register runs from last check register to the last checks that get caught before the meeting. So that marketing is in November. So you'll
Got it.
see it hit the statements next month.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Colleen. Good seeing you.
You bring up the Library Association, Saratoga, any really big item that you would say that the team walked out of that would say that they can bring back to the library here?
Absolutely. There were several of our librarians who were looking at ways to get teen volunteers more engaged and really build our teen volunteering program. I think that's the one they were most excited about. Brooklyn Public Library is doing some really interesting things with their teen volunteers, turning it almost into like a combination volunteer job internship where like they have a capstone project at the end where they're actually doing, I'm not going to say library work because they're under the supervision of a professional library staff member, but they actually walk away with something where they're like, I helped conduct a story time, I helped run a program. That was what the team was most excited about. I'm much more boring. I walked away with the new director handbook, which was hot off the presses, which I'm very excited about. And I also attended the current state of trustee affairs, or what's most important to the boards of trustees and public libraries in New York. So you'll all be getting some homework once I fully digested what I learned.
That would be part of our continuing ed.
Absolutely. You are going to hit your hours and then some.
Anybody got any other questions for Pete on that? Okay, so with that, we'll go to the committee reports, finance. Tony, anything in addition to the financial that we covered?
We did meet yesterday. Already we present the audit for, I think it's 2022 at some point when he's feeling better to the rest of us. Colleen said she had the MOU out for 8 firms, right, for the audit for the remaining years that we need to catch up on. We will begin budgeting soon, and there are some large expenses that we're gonna have to cover, which, I don't know, Pete can go into more detail. We're gonna probably have to replace the skylight. So we're probably talking hundreds of thousands. And then we got some road construction, development, fixing that we're gonna have to do on Mercy Care, which we'll be talking about some other time. So we'll probably have to eat some of that cost or split it. So depending on how the road actually looks, our costs will be probably substantial. I think that was it, though.
Okay, thank you. Alicia, personnel.
So I was not at the personnel meeting, but was anyone there that wants to give the smallest of updates, which
Yeah,
is basically executive
We
session?
spent the meeting in executive session.
That's right, that's right.
Was quick.
There you go.
We need to go to executive session to enter your commentary or wait until another time.
Yeah, I don't know if any updates
I
are pertinent
don't
to that.
think we need to.
Okay.
No, nothing to vote on, no action necessary.
On facilities, Tony stole some of the thunder already, but our work with Titan is coming to a close, and they tried several different things to fix the skylight, but after each time the leak can persist. And so we reached out to more industrial scope companies, and in effect, we don't necessarily have a definitive answer on that, but we'll probably be talking to some architect engineers to take on this scope of work for a replacement of the skylight and see what that's going to involve. As Tony said, that will be an expensive proposition to do. And how we fund it is going to be complicated. We do have reserves that we can use to do this. We can look for grants to provide some of it. And we can also do bond funding depending upon the amount that comes in and the timing of it. So it's really, at this point in time, we don't have any real solid information as to put to the board to have any further discussion than I think I just had here. But short-term remediation, we've played with it for over a year and come up with nothing. And a replacement option is probably what's in order if we want to maintain the light quality of the library during the day, which I think is one of the hallmarks of this facility as it's been remodeled. I think everybody would be interested in doing that. And so we're just gonna have to explore what it's gonna take and how we're gonna get our head into doing this type of pretty significant construction job of removing what's there, removing the louvers. I don't know what the impact of the solar panels will be, but all that will become. Mercy Care Lane, we had a good discussion with Peter Barber and Bob Haber about what it's going to take to find out how we need to proceed on the road. The first step will be finding out who the owners of the various pieces of land that intersect that roadway are. It's not different the way the map works of the property lines. It's probably not all just one. He was going to work with the Hirschberg firm to try and find out who they are and use their offices maybe to solicit support to give us the green light to go ahead on subsequent analysis work that we need to do. The first analysis work that we would need to do is get a camera through the stormwater piping system to figure out what the condition of that is. And if it's in good condition, that would be a really big plus for us. But if it's collapsed in certain areas, that will be a big negative for what the cost of this will be. But when we do get the video of, they put a camera down there, the water department runs the cameras, and I think that that would be a public service at the town of Guilderland to get this thing done. Or we can, once we get that done, we would then need to get 811 in to do the type of work to find out where the gas lines are, the electrical lines, the utility lines, et cetera, that, you know, whenever you got to do digging around your property, they come in and mark the road. They would need to do that, and we would need to understand, given where all that stuff lies in this stretch of road, how complicated the next step would be. The next step would be doing boreholes in the road to find out what actually it is comprised of. Because one of the key requirements of this whole project is if the town's going to take over the road, it's got to be up to standard that they can accept a transfer of this roadway. And so if the roadway is good underneath, then it would be easier for them to accept it. If it is a shoddy job that was done in the first place, they would need to do certain types of upgrades to the subsurface of the roadway to enable to come up to the standard that they're requiring. So all that is yet to be determined, and what the cost of it will be is sort of undetermined at this point in time. When they did the road in the back, it was relatively simple. They just took the grader in and scraped it off. They were able to do these assessments and basically found out, you know, it was all pretty straightforward for their standards to be able to do that. Hopefully, what they found in the back would translate to the front, but the front is probably where all the 811 types of utilities are going to be, which is going to make drilling, you know, we got to identify where the drilling can be done and what that condition of the road is going to be. So it's all to be determined of what the cost of all that will be. But we'll be following up with, I laid the steps out in the meeting minutes to say how we're going to get from here to there, and somewhere along the line, the cost is going to come up. We'll try and figure out there how we're going to deal with it. You know, one way of dealing with it might be to, will be to talk to the other owners as they show up to see if we can get some buy-in from them to say this is a shared solution and you own part of the road. So can we put together and share the cost on a percentage basis that way? Anybody, Matt, you had any?
No, I think you covered it in great detail.
Just a question I had, once we bring the road up to specs, then the town will take it
Yeah,
over.
the dedication will
town
be
road.
dedicated over to the town, yeah.
And then they'll be responsible for plowing.
Yeah, all that.
Striping.
Yeah. A couple other, you know, things that came out along that discussion, it sort of fed into some of the things we picked up during the community meetings that we had as part of the long range planning. You know, the idea of putting a left turn lane out there so that people who want to go right aren't stuck behind. I mean, they said, no, that'll never happen because number one, we can't get a red light put out there because, you know, the proximity to the next red light is just too close. So that's never gonna happen. And if there's not a red light there, you're not gonna be able to get a left turn lane. And so to the good residents of, who understand that, that's a problem. And so that leaves everybody with the safest route of getting out of this place is to go down Mercy Care Lane and go over to Winding Brook and then back up to the light there. But, you know, starting in November, I don't know about you, but it's awful dark back there. But, you know, lighting upgrades to that is something I think needs further discussion. But, you know, if they develop that property back there for a apartment, that would be part of the upgrade, but that's years away, to tell you the truth. And so I think we still need to understand better what we can do to improve the lighting or the reflectors there at night so that you go around and there's a couple of reflectors at the end of the road, but when you make that left, there is nothing except darkness. So I think, you know, this is for the patrons of the library. I think this is the major impediment, to tell you the truth, for the use of the library that we need to get, we need to drive to closure. Then I think on, what else did I say in here? There was artwork being put up around the walls here. We're still getting a read on what it's going to take to do the final picture in the back, and so that is still a work in progress. No update on that. So that's all for facilities. Okay, who's next on the list here?
Governance.
Governance, Mike.
All right, governance met twice since last month on October 21st and November 5th. There's minutes in the packet. We have one policy revision that we're bringing to the board, and the committee voted to move from the committee for adoption of a revised procurement policy. This was mostly on our radar just because it's a very old policy. It hasn't been updated since 2010. And so we got feedback from the library's legal counsel, and then the committee made some further adjustments. It's not major substantive revisions, more kind of clarifying there's a new kind of beginning section that just clarifies the authority of the director and responsibilities. And one thing that we noted, and we modified it slightly, but it's the second to last section. It's the annual review that we are supposed to be, the board is supposed to be reviewing this procurement policy annually. That's under state law that we're required to do that. So we need to implement that. I think the plan would be as part of our annual business meeting, that would just be one more policy that would be provided to us to review and, make sure everybody's looked at it every year, because we're supposed to be doing an annual review of that. Anyway, there was weird formatting things you'll see in there. That's just because there was like line breaks. So when the changing of the number, the paragraph numbering and everything, it looks all weird, but in the not, black line, the clean version, it doesn't look weird like that. So, but if anyone has questions about that, I'm happy to answer any questions. And there is a motion from the committee on the table for it to adopt it.
The commitment to remove Roman numerals.
Say again?
I said the commitment to remove Roman numerals from like everything's going to letters.
Yeah, well, it's
admirable.
well, there's
some.
actually kind of both. Yeah, there's multiple layers of
Yes.
things, but I think it'll clean version, it'll look a little better, but if anybody has any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them.
I just had this is just from my understanding, the library director shall have the final authority in all purchase decisions. Isn't it the other way around? It's like authorized up to a certain amount, but then we have to approve stuff over a certain amount over that? How does that work?
So this is the authority to commit the library to purchase things. So
Okay.
you're saying that basically the buck stops with him as far as, committing to that the library is going to make a money outlay.
Okay, so like in a fake scenario, something's over 10,000, it comes to the board, we're like, yeah, we approve up to 45,000. He can still be like, nah,
In theory, or really,
Okay.
it's more like you would give that authority back to me and I would finish the job. I
Okay.
wouldn't delegate it to another staff member, but
Oh,
I could do
okay.
it, or another staff member couldn't do it without my say
Okay,
so.
okay. I just wanted to.
But yeah,
because
no,
it was like-
it does not circumvent
other
the
way around.
board's purchasing authority. Or
No, yeah, no.
Is it worth clarifying?
Is it worth clarifying that, in the language? I don't, if we have a suggestion of a different way to word it, that would be better. I don't off the top of my head.
I think it's I'm reading it in relation to procurement that is of the manner of costs that are covered by this. That's the way I'm reading it. So if we went out to purchase and we got RFPs, the final decision about what company to hire is the
Okay.
final authority on the
Okay.
decision. So that's what I'm reading it as, but I'm not sure if that's how you intend. So, the supervisor is responsible for getting the quotes and the bids and investigating the choices. But when that comes in, like the RFP for audit, the final decision of the audit company chosen is Pete's. Not mine, who works in the office, not George's, it's in collaboration, but Pete will decide after we follow the required quote or bid process.
So maybe the additional words are just after that, like in relation to procuring. Whatever,
Hmm.
Within certain limits, as
vendors or whatever word. Just add it, a couple words at the end.
It could be the library director shall have final authority on all purchase decisions made using this policy.
Sure.
Something like
Sure.
that, if that was the intention.
Yeah, I mean, so. I think, I'm reading it in the context of this whole paragraph that it's in, and the first paragraph, limits the persons who can commit the library to make purchases, and then this last sentence is basically saying, and, basically, but the library, just, even though there's other people, like members of the library's management staff may be able to commit the library to making purchases, but the library, but the director has, the final say over all, that can overrule those people or exercise the authority over everybody below him.
Could you change the word purchase to procurement and just call it a procurement policy?
or couldn't you say, shall have the ability to all purchase decisions within the parameters established by the board? In other words, he just can't go out and buy a $50,000.
Lamborghini, yeah, I don't know what it cost, but yeah. Yeah.
Whatever clarifying
Is
sentence
that-
you like.
But that's what you're getting.
Because that threw me off a little, just because I was like, that's like against. But it's just because I got stuck on purchase.
Final authority on all purchase decisions as described in this section.
No, but they're not
That says,
described
right?
in that section there. There's a
agree.
limit as to how much you can spend without board authority. I think that's what.
I would throw my support behind what Mike's interpretation here, where this sentence exists in the context of section A, where section A describes folks that are investigating what purchases may be made, right? And then we go on to say that supervisors are responsible for securing quotes or bids. And that at the end of the day, Pete has the final authority on what is purchased by the staff of the library that is performing that work.
Why do we have limits?
Well, so I think, the purpose of this policy is not to set this isn't the policy that sets the limits of how much, can be spent, how much is, this is kind of dictating what process you have to go through before you spend the money. So what things have to be competitively bid, and what's the process for, seeking out, alternative, suppliers and, other prices and all of that kind of stuff. And so it's laying that out, but this policy isn't the place where it's setting like the limits on discretionary authority of the director or anything like that. It's just basically, where's the chain of it, what process has to be gone through before you can spend the money and then, saying who's
I just worry about competing policies or competing language, so that's why I'm like, maybe the easiest thing is change purchase to procurement, since those are two different things to me. And then that's a one-word change and easier.
Mhm. And keep in mind that the intended audience for a procurement policy is vendors who have bid on things or members of the public who want to ensure that we're following our procedures. So I find the purpose of this section is that if someone's like, well, who makes this decision? This is just giving us the answer that if someone says, why have you made this decision? It's the director's decision. And it stops them from circumventing or going to another person to appeal.
But if someone on the outside reads the sentence, the library director shall have the final authority on all purchase decisions.
So we can change that to procurement since it's in the procurement policy and that's.
That's
Well,
easy.
I mean, but it says purchase through the rest of that, whole rest of that paragraph. It's talking about purchases. I think it's weird to just switch to procurement on that last line. I mean, I think the point of this is just saying who, I don't think by saying the library director has the final authority on all purchase decisions, we're saying that, you know, overrides any other limitations on it, you know. I think that's just saying that's where the final, that's the, you know, the final say on it, you know, comes from him as far as, you know, who, you know, makes the final call on, okay, are we gonna spend money on this or not? I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to say it, but.
So the more definitive you can be, the better, but if everybody's else comfortable with that.
Did you add the word resulting? Final authority on all resulting purchase decisions? Because they're the decisions that resulted from the stuff above. They're specifically about this competitive bidding that was going on. The competitive bidding goes on, and then the resulting decision at the end of it. I don't know if that helps, but. Just throwing it in there.
I can get on board with that. I think that,
Literally any option for me, but
What's that?
I don't know. Literally any of these options I think would work. I'm trying to think of like, so like you said, somebody reading this that wasn't in the meeting who knows all the intricacies of how we came up with the language. My first thought is make it so clear, because this is, to me, I mistook it and I'm on the board. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm not dying on this hill if this is gonna just cause an hour discussion, honestly. I think changing one word is not the end of the world, but it is.
Candidly, I can't remember exactly where that language, because we got this, in general, this new section, this material came from legal counsel, but then the committee did a bunch of tweaking and revisions to it. So that particular line, I don't recall if that was language that came directly from council or that if that was after we, you know, changed it in some way. I just don't.
I think that
I would have to go back and
the
look.
word resulting does tie it into the discussion in the paragraph above. It sort of does limit it
You're
with.
the lawyer, so
I think that's
you
a,
have fun, that's fine. Whatever gets us to the next thing. It's fine.
I don't have a problem with that.
All right.
Okay.
Resulting.
so, are we right,
So we had a motion on, how does this work if there's a,
or we can just say,
Just make
the
an amendment.
motion is to approve this with the word resulting added in the last sentence of letter A. The library director shall have the final authority on all resulting purchase decisions. And so then we could approve it that way, and then you make the edit after the meeting and send it on, and we're good to go. But the language that's in the policy book is approved by the trustees.
Or you could just make an amendment to the motion that was on the floor to add the word resulting in paragraph A such and such. I think that's more like the Robert's Rules thing.
Okay. You got
It's the result, but
words that I, so. So what do? We have a vote to approve this, or what? What are you
I
saying?
think I'll make a motion that we amend the committee's recommendation by adding the word resulting prior to purchase decisions at the end of paragraph A.
Okay,
So that needs a second, you gotta vote, then you go back to the original.
okay, all right, okay, so,
I'll second that.
okay, any, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so the amendment has passed. Now, a motion to accept the procurement policy as revised by the foregoing amendment. We have a motion to approve that.
So made.
Okay, second, Joe. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion's passed.
All right, real quick before we go off of the governance, we're in the process of working on a few other policies. It's in the minutes, so I won't get into that. I was contacted by Bethany, who brought up, it's an issue it's raised in her minutes from the board development meeting, which is that they're working on just, making sure that we're complying with the state law about the board training requirements and tracking that as required. Apparently, the state has a model policy. And so they're talking about the need to adopt a new policy governing the board training requirements and what we need to be doing in order to track that or whatever. I don't know the details of that, but I think the plan is, after I email back and forth with Bethany, that the board development committee is going to do kind of the first pass at putting together a policy, possibly based on the model policy, and then forward that on to the governance committee to bring that to the board at some future meeting. So that's my understanding.
Okay. If you like, Corey's not here for long range planning. Anybody have any input on that for, you did all the focus groups, any update on that feature?
Yeah, and Mike, I might throw it to you. We did
Yeah.
finish all the focus groups except for the staff focus group, which is yet to happen. Mike actually did some analysis. How would you describe the work you did with the focus group feedback?
Well, yeah, so it was a little, I used some just AI tools to do some summaries. So just to recap, so we had 6 focus groups that were done with, some were targeted at particular demographics or groups and others were just open to whoever. So we had notes taken from all of these 6 focus groups. So we just, I basically, just to kind of help us get a summary, fed them into, an AI tool that created a kind of a report, a comprehensive kind of summary of the what we got from them, which seemed to come out pretty good and really summed up the comments we were hearing across the various different focus groups. So that's where we were at when we met at when did we meet? It was the beginning of the month. We had, right at the beginning of the month, we had a meeting where we had the notes there, and then following that meeting is when I did that and sent it around to the committee. So we haven't met again since we had that kind of summary made up. I think I don't know where things stand on the staff ones.
We're scheduling with Upper Hudson, who's going to
Process being
facilitate.
scheduled, yeah, so.
And we have been invited, Altamont Free Library is doing their long range plan as well. So we've been invited to attend, to meet with them. So I've extended that invitation to Corey. Either she'll attend or she'll designate someone, and I'll also attend with her.
Okay, thank you. Board development, Bethany's not here. Anybody got anything else they had to, anything else we talked about that? Foundation, Alicia?
So I don't think anything was voted on because it was a small group, although technically, Mike P, as we remember, he is now their new vice president. So he is moving on up at the foundation. We did kind of debrief from the reader treat. So they were looking for updates on that. I think we stayed significantly under the approved budget. So they had some discussion on like what that might look like expanding or something like that, where we're in a situation where the line doesn't get cut off, or how that could better be structured or whatever. Not that they do a ton of the planning, but they were trying to think of like them also sponsoring multiple tables and providing them to community members. So it was just kind of some loose discussion on debriefing from the event. They were very happy to see it go well. They passed out lots of the brochures and stuff like that. They've already had one person reach out to them to apply to become a member. So, which is a big part of their goal at the moment. They're really looking to onboard enough additional foundation members, and their next goal after that is to do something like the gala, which they're kind of putting on hold until they do have the member support to be able to do that, because it's sort of a small group at the moment. Everything else was kind of like smaller updates, like they changed their bank and stuff like that, but nothing actionable had come out of that. It was just mostly like a discussion meeting. Did I miss
How
anything?
many members do they have right now? About how many?
5, 6? They'd like to get up to 9.
Yeah,
And your volunteer group, are they connected with the foundation at all, or?
No, so Amy and I are doing, on Giving Tuesday after Thanksgiving, Amy and I are hosting an interest group for Friends, to get a Friends board going. They would be partners, but they would not be connected. Typically, foundations do large-scale fundraising and advocacy, and Friends do small-scale fundraising and advocacy, so 2 different purposes.
and one of the other discussion pieces was the Scholastic Book Fair and things like
Yeah.
that. So that was pretty much the bulk of the meeting. Yeah, they're just hoping to get some additional members to be able to do more things. So,
So if anyone knows anyone who's civically minded and loves libraries and wants to be on a board, the foundation has some openings.
You know, I mean, there was a lot of people who sat through the focus groups who might fit that criteria.
Right.
I would hope that they're watching.
If they care enough to come to a focus group, they might care enough to join a board.
So the next meeting's in 2 months because they are now every other month. So next month we won't have an update unless something gets emailed out, but then, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Upper Hudson, anybody have any comments that Corey would like to make? No? Any, you?
Nothing she reported to me.
Okay, so brings us to old business. Is there any old business coming before the board?
I don't know if this is old or new business. We've talked a couple of meetings ago about possibly not having the December meeting unless something was pressing. And if we can just discuss that.
Right. I think, you know, we were sort of discussing that with finance last night as to whether or not we were going to be able to get financials in time for a December 11 meeting that would be, you know, meaningful. But there may be some, besides the routine stuff, there may be just something that happens that we need to meet as a board of trustees that's not apparent to us right yet. I think I don't know at this point in time, we sort of have the answer on, do we have that meeting or not? It's sort of more dependent on Pete, you, and maybe what Corey might think, this.
I would say we should prioritize having the finance committee meet. It is a little bit early for me to say that definitively we don't need a board meeting, but we could probably make that decision at the beginning of the month. But I think we do need a finance committee meeting.
Yeah, we do.
We'll meet, finance will meet in December.
Yep.
We won't have anything by the 11th, so this will be budgeting and for next year.
It might say that we might, I think that the issue is the December 11th meeting, if there's going to be enough stuff to discuss in that as a full board of trustees. I think each one of the committees, it's up to them to decide whether or not you need a December meeting. Whether that's going to be scheduled before or after December 11th, I think it's what makes sense for that committee and what their topics are. And, if it doesn't, if it happens after the December 11th meeting, we'll take it up at the January meeting. That would be the most practical thing at this point. So I think committees, it's up to the committee leaders to say, do you need a December meeting? And if you can get it in before December 11th, fine. If it's not meaningful, then do it when it is meaningful. And then I think Pete, you and Corey and maybe me or anybody else would maybe make a decision as to whether or not we have enough stuff to talk about in December to have a meeting. I don't know if we can say it at this point.
And that's fine. If there's not enough, there
That's a
really,
good point, though.
everything else that's going on at that time of the year, that unless there's something urgent,
Yes.
then we could easily go into January.
No, I think, if you, me and Corey put our heads together.
Yeah.
We can
right.
make a decision on that.
Okay, any new business? Any public input? Session 2? The board comments?
So just sort of probably towards Caroline. The last video that was posted with Amy and so many staff members with our friend Rufus, I think was one of the funniest, greatest hits that, I've seen. It was very well done.
Well done.
For what Pete showed in his write-up, the number of things that happened in the month of October, we're hitting on all cylinders in terms of being a community asset and something that I'm feeling proud of. So, Pete and staff, great work. Keep up the good work. It's a labor of love, I think, that for the community here. So thank you for that. With that, if there's no further comments, we can adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second? Charlie? All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Real quick, Barb, are you guys, are you good if we to get for governance
But
committee
you're gonna
the
be
first
off, so
Thursday in
don't.
December?
I'm gonna be serious. Yeah, I'm off. 7/4.
Do it.
I don't think, I don't think it's good for me.
I think.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
to get like shut
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
it's the fourth, is that?
So we'll
that's not
probably
done.
meet to
All right,
discuss that.
all right.
then.
That'd be great.
I'll try and do, maybe I'll use that,
Got your receipt.
whatever that scheduling website that you had sent out.
Would be probably.
Yeah.
I got,
It's,
yeah,
getting big.